Get Pucked.
Hello and welcome to the Get Pucked podcast. Matt, Dave, Vito, Luca here, back after a tiny bit of time away. How you guys doing?
Fantastic.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
One day I'll ask you this question and I'll get more than a one-word answer. One day. I don't know when. Maybe the day when I actually get a webcam that doesn't keep fuzzing me out here. Hold on a second. And fixed. All right.
The playoffs are here.
Yes.
Hopefully that ends quickly so we can get on with the
How
offseason.
could it when the NHL schedules games a week
Terrible.
apart? It's
Terrible
crazy.
scheduling.
I'm not even going to get into that. What I want to get into is the Canadiens. Yes, we're going to still talk about the Habs. Yes, they've been out of the playoffs for quite some time, obviously, and I hope they're enjoying their offseason. But here we have no offseason. And as crazy fans of the team, we like to now immediately get into things to talk about the future of the team. And, of course, latest rumors and things that are going out there. So, on that topic, one of the first things to get into, kind of recent, a name that started to circulate, and a lot of people taking a lot of interest in this because he's a polarizing guy, given where he fits on the roster and his I don't know what the word is in English, which is funny, but basically what he brings, his gabarit, like I don't know what the word is in English. It's so weird. Anyways, Nicolas Hague.
He's from Kitchener, Ontario.
Hague? Okay. Anyways, as you were, his name has been out there linked to the Canadiens for one reason or another. And with that, a lot of fans immediately jumped at conclusions. Xhekaj, does that make him expendable? How does he fit? What's going on? Let's give a little bit of context behind the gentleman. So he's a big dude, right? I think he's 6'6", 250 or something. Guy's a monster. By no means is he a point-producing defenseman. This is a big dude, stays at home, locks you down, shuts you down. So really, my question is, first and foremost, I'll start with you, Vito. Why would the Canadiens be interested in a guy like him? And if you as well are interested, what would it take to kind of make these two tango and get a deal done?
So I think they're looking at him not necessarily to actually play his strong side, which would be the left side, but it'd be to play on the right side. On the third pairing, it's probably to replace David Savard is what I'm thinking. I know a lot of people think that it's Carey that replaced Savard, but they need to add another shot blocker, a defensive defenseman, a stay-at-home guy who's got who's been on a team that's constantly contending and making the playoffs and has some upside on that regard. I'm not looking at it as he's a replacement for Xhekaj. I think the starting point is probably going to be somewhere with Struble and like a third or a fourth, just for him. I'm thinking it's more because while Martin St. Louis is probably not, doesn't have 100% confidence in Xhekaj is locked in, does have a contract that he's got one more year left at 1.3, which Struble, they still have to figure out what he's worth, what the term is there. And it's just something that I think maybe, they want to address other things rather than trying to figure out basically who to choose between Struble and Xhekaj when both of them are going to be third pairing defensemen. And I think Xhekaj just brings other elements that the Montreal Canadiens are looking for elsewhere. So imagine having a shutdown pairing of two physical beasts on the third pairing in Nicolas Hague and Xhekaj. I think that's very enticing for the Montreal Canadiens and for upper management. So that's where I think they're going to go.
You don't see him as a replacement for Xhekaj. What you're saying you see him as he's played
a lot of games in Vegas on the right side, even though he's a left-hand shot.
Okay.
So I could see them saying, you know what, it's really hard to go and find a right-handed defenseman, especially when you have Reinbacher there that's going to eventually take a spot. I think their hope is that Reinbacher will come in and gradually become play on the top pairing. Maybe Carrier one day will be the one that they push down. Things like that. They want that versatility, but at the same time, if their plan is to play Hague on the left side, maybe it's to alternate between him and Xhekaj, or Xhekaj becomes the seventh defenseman and they do go and get a right-handed defenseman. They're not going to limit themselves But I think they're bringing in, if they do get Hague, it's to play him on the right side on the third pairing. And at the same time, he's going to mentor. He might be able to mentor Xhekaj a little bit.
Okay, interesting points. Luca, do you see it the same way? What do you got?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, like the last points that Vito just mentioned, like the fact that he's going to be like kind of like a mentor to Xhekaj to like show him what Martin St. Louis wants from him. You know what I mean? Like he's basically gonna be like his how do you say this? His model. This is what I want you to eventually become, and he's probably gonna like alternate him as a 7D. That's personally what I think. But the player himself, he's just really attractive. Like if they go for him, that's amazing. His cap hit, as you can see, is very, very digestible. 2.29 million.
Well, he's up.
He's done now. So
he's an RFA.
He's an RFA. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
See, I'll be honest. I didn't know much about the player before tonight, but no, regardless of the fact, he's still very attractive. Like I doubt he's going to command much more than that. He's not going to ask like 8-9 million, right? I mean, he does have slight offensive upside.
Yeah, I'm thinking more around what David Savard was earning, somewhere in the mid threes.
Exactly. Yeah, which is still pretty good.
I don't know about his slight offensive upside, though. To be honest with you, he had 12 points last season.
How many?
12.
12 points last season.
12 points in 68 games last season.
And the season before that? I'm pretty sure he hit double digits.
He's had 12, 12, 17, 14, and 17. He's never passed 17 points.
Yeah. Again, that's
not his game, right?
He's a stay-at-home defenseman. He's a physical. He's blocking shots. Yeah. You know what? Regardless, he's a big body. It's somebody that could definitely protect the smaller guys. You know, like Hudson. You know, kid's tiny. But definitely, he's tiny. No, definitely, I would do it in a heartbeat if I were the Canadiens.
In a heartbeat, Dave.
I mean, I don't know. It's just, to me, it's a lateral move. I don't see it as much of an improvement over it, unless you're really giving up on Struble and guys like that. Like I think he also takes a spot in your lineup for, eventually you're going to have to call up. I know not right now, but eventually you're going to have to call up Ryan Backer. You're going to have to call up or give a shot to Logan Mailloux, unless you're dangling them in trade pieces. But to me, it's like he's a left-handed defenseman. He's played right, but if you look at those times that he spent on the right-hand side, it's his worst performance as in Vegas, right? So it's not necessarily a strong suit of his to do that. The only thing I could see is if he's going to eat up some like shorthanded minutes or stuff like that, which I could see being a possibility, because to be honest, there's not many players left on the back end other than like the, Matheson and stuff that you're going to want to kind of open that up a little bit for somebody to play some shorthanded minutes. But the right-hand side, I don't know. I get the allure of his size and he looks like he's definitely a good player, but I don't know, man.
I think it's a stopgap, Dave.
It's a stopgap, but like he's an RFA. Yeah. You're going to have to give him years probably and a bit of term. In my mind, so stopgap for how many years, and it's just like you're kind of getting into the thick of things right now, and it's just why like I get it, but like it's just, to me, it's a move that you're kind of it's a head scratcher. Now it could be a move that kind of turns out amazing, and I'll be wrong, and I'll be the first one to admit it, but to me it's like, if you're focusing on that, like I don't know, it's not something. Unless the Habs see something in him that I haven't seen, or if they know something about the player, it's just, to me, I just don't see why you wouldn't just maybe, give some.
It almost feels like an insurance policy on that third pairing left side. Like if there's games, like let's say they decide to move on from Struble, right? And Engstrom, they're not quite ready to say it's time for him to call him up. It's somebody to say, okay, it's a veteran. Well, 26 years old, we're calling him a veteran, but a 26-year-old player who has experience, if Xhekaj needs a game off or 2 or 3 or whatever, you feel comfortable to move Hague to the left while you go and play somebody on the right side or whatever the case may be there. But it almost feels like it's an insurance policy just in case. But yeah, it is a bit weird when you think of that their need is really on the right side.
I don't.
It sounds like it.
I don't see it as an insurance policy. I don't think you're bringing it in here to rotate it with him and Xhekaj on the bottom pairing. If you're going to look to bring in a guy like him, in my estimation, I look at it more like Dave is looking at it. You have your guys. At some point, they're going to have to come up. Now, the seemingly consensus about the guys who can graduate from the Rocket is Mailloux. It seems like he's the one ready to take the step, if there is a guy ready to take the step.
Well,
so if that's the case,
he's in trade rumors too, eh?
But exactly, if you're looking at Nicolas Hague to come in, you would say, in my mind, it would be contingent that if he comes in, it's either because they're just about to move some of the prospects out, or they had moved the prospects out in another deal and they're bringing in Hague to fill the spot. That's how that makes sense. Otherwise, I don't see his spot on this team. You don't bring him in as a stopgap. There is nothing to stopgap. You're either going to bring your kids up and you're going to give them the shot to play.
He's a stopgap if their plan is to play him on the right side and they just feel that Reinbacher's not ready to be there just yet.
They're too smart to go and acquire, because you'd have to trade Vegas to get his rights. He's an RFA and then sign him. They're too smart to do all of this effort to bring in a guy to play him on his worst side. You don't target a guy like that to play on his weak side.
They did that to Gouli for almost a whole season.
Yeah, but it was a disaster. I mean, not a disaster, but it was not. It didn't do anybody any favors.
And they didn't trade for him. They put him. He's homegrown. It's a different animal entirely. But I just think that if you see all of a sudden you wake up one day in a couple of weeks and all of a sudden Nicolas Hague is coming here, expect that they're going to be moving out a Logan Mailloux, or they're going to be moving out potentially Xhekaj or somebody.
I think it's going to be Xhekaj.
I can't see it making sense any other way.
It wouldn't make sense. It wouldn't make sense if it's just Xhekaj. That means you're moving Struble too.
Whatever it might be, you're moving people out to accommodate. He's going to be one of your 6.
Remember, they usually go into a season with 7 defensemen. That are there, and one of them's always scratched or eating hot dogs upstairs or whatever, But so it wouldn't surprise me that it's not Xhekaj, because even though he doesn't have St. Louis confidence, it seems like Hugo really likes Xhekaj. The fans like Xhekaj. His brother is there knocking on the door too for a 4th line role to Montreal Canadiens eventually. So there's a lot there. He's marketable. There's a lot of things there when it comes to Xhekaj. It's Struble, in my opinion, that's like the one that's likely going to move, especially that he's due for a contract. So I wouldn't. Maybe Hague comes in as the third pairing LD, and your 7th defenseman is Xhekaj,
which would make sense also, but it's still at the end of the day, like, why? Like, that's my. You have other concerns, and again, it's just another roster spot taken up that eventually down the line you're going to have an issue with. Like, it's because you're going to have to sign him to term. That's the problem. If it was a guy on an expiring contract next year or somewhere down, like something of that nature, I would understand it. But how it is now, I don't see it unless it's packaged. It's within a package in that exact same trade. That would make a little bit more sense, but I don't know. I just don't see it.
Kind of like what our buddy Marco D'Amico was alluding to, taking on William Karlsson as a part of a cap dump.
I mean, that would be something that would make sense.
Just because you bring it up, and maybe because you saw some tabs that were open at the top. Excuse me.
No,
a little spoiler there. Trying to mix it up today with some visuals, but what we can do is talk about the next guy, who is William Karlsson. And I mention him because, again, Marco D'Amico brought it up, a couple other people talking about potential 2Cs, right? Do you bring in a 2C to fit the bill and be the 2C moving forward? Or is it smarter to bring in a 2C as a stopgap? And so when we look at William Karlsson, who's up on screen now, if you're able to watch this and not just hearing us, he's got 2 years left of a deal. It's a $5.9 million cap hit. And he is a very interesting player. He is, because you get either a tremendous talent or you get a underwhelming performer. And last season, he was the underwhelming performer, right? So he had 9 goals, 20 assists for 29 points in 53 games. Didn't really look great for those that were watching. But if we go down just a little bit, you'll notice that he is also a guy who has scored 30 goals one year and 43 goals in a previous year, albeit 7 years removed from that crazy season he had. But
he was also playing on the third line.
Well, and so there's that as well, right? So there could be something happening there in Vegas. One thing in particular, part of that rumor that you alluded to, is that Vegas is looking to unload players to get cap space in order to make a run at Marner. And so Karlsson, who I don't think they want to get rid of, but might be a victim of that, the curious question now is, I don't want to consider necessarily right out the gate, oh, what would you do to get him and Hage to get just Karlsson on his own? Is this a player that is, to you, a potentially interesting candidate for 2C as a stopgap? Is this somebody that you think that the Habs should potentially go out and look to acquire? And I think to start this time off, Luca, we'll go with you.
Oh, you know what? I've always liked William Karlsson. Regardless of the season that he had this year, I mean, 53 games, 29 points. It's not spectacular, but it's not horrible either. He's definitely a good. He's a good option for 2C. Look, he has certain intangibles. Like, he has a certain leadership quality to him. He's a good, he's I don't know, he's every time you look at the score sheet for Vegas, you always see his name. Generally, this year maybe not, but regardless, usually you do see his name. He's dynamic. He's a good player. He's a good option for 2C. Plus, it'd be like a throw-in to get us to take Hague. Why not? You get two players, a big physical defenseman, stay-at-home defenseman that's physical, plus a second center that we so desperately need. Fine. It wouldn't be the best option, but it'd be good for this year.
Yeah, it might not be the sexiest name. Yeah,
right. It's not the sexiest.
Fair.
Yeah, but it's not forever. He has 2 years left?
It's 2 years left. Yeah.
We could do that.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't even want him for more than 2 years, because when you think of it, he's 32 years old, going on 33, right? So at 5.9, I look at him as a guy who can jump in, fill a 2C role for a season or two till they try to figure out who's more of the long-term 2C. And at the same time, when you look at his numbers,
I like that list.
I mean, he's definitely not worse than Dvorak. He's an upgrade on Dvorak offensively, and in the face-off circle, he would be the best face-off guy on the team. I mean, he was 58% last year, and he's been above 50% for the last 5 years. So that's something that the Montreal Canadiens desperately need too, is somebody who can win face-offs. Suzuki's been good. Jake Evans does well enough that he plays at like a little bit above 50%, but Newhook wasn't cutting it. Doc is scary in the face-off circle. So there's a lot of things about William Karlsson that you can like about his game, as long as it's not a massive overpay. If this is a player that Montreal acquires as maybe a plan B, plan C, and it's because it's a cap dump and it didn't cost anything to get him, then why not, right? If you're telling me, hypothetically speaking, it's Struble a third and a fourth, or Struble a second and a third, and you're getting William Karlsson and Hague, and it was all just to clear up cap space. It's kind of like, it almost feels like still a rebuilding move as part of the rebuild, but at the same time, it addresses needs that makes the team actually better, marginally, but still makes them better than what they are today.
It's a very fair point.
I agree, man. I think I'd take a flyer on that. I think that he's, you're going to need a 2C. You need to try to find somebody. And this is a guy, he's 7 years removed for a 43-goal season, but he's 2 seasons removed from a 30-goal season. You know what I mean? So, look, I'm always for guys who can score those goals, right? Like, I get sometimes it's a one-off, but if you score 40 goals in the NHL, you're a good hockey. You could score goals. You could play
the optimist.
Look, I'm not saying it will work out, but what I do, the realist. Thank you, man.
Realist.
But what I like about it also is the contract term. I think, if it doesn't work out, you move on, and you have you have other options coming up probably that can maybe slot in there. And who's to say you can't move them down the line eventually, whatever happens, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, I think I would like that move. I'd be comfortable with it. It wouldn't be my first target. Don't get me wrong. I think that there's a lot of, there's a bunch of players I would take over him, and hopefully they could swing something a little bit more spectacular. But if they end up, I would take that over nothing, over running back somebody else. And that's what's the important thing for me. And he's an interesting player, man. He's a guy who you want in pools, which is always a good sign. Mm-hmm. He's that sneaky guy, late pick that always works out for you in pools. that's the kind of guy you want on your team. I mean, I know it's a stupid way to measure things,
He's
but
under 6 million. He's under 6. Like, if you're looking at where the cap is going, most productive 2Cs are going to be in the $7-8 million range.
And it's 2 years.
You're getting 2 years at
5.9
for a guy that can't pot you 30 goals and maybe 60 plus points.
Most
and playing on a second line for sure with the Montreal Canadiens. It's not like with Vegas where he was behind Eichel and Mirtle. It's here you go. You're the 2C.
Yeah. The only
he's going to get power play time.
Yeah.
He's going to get defensive. He's going to get defensive responsibilities in the sense of winning the defensive zone faceoffs. So he's going to get his minutes. There's going to be a huge uptick on his minutes.
Yeah. The only thing I could see being is if he gets off to a slow start. Like, this market can be brutal for players like that, as we know. And just like he's like a kind of a typical Montreal Canadiens player where it's kind of just like so much potential but frustrating to watch at times. That would be the only hesitation mark for me, but I'm willing to take a risk.
I like the idea, and I like what you're saying as well, because that is very true from this fan base. I just think that he doesn't come here. Like, to me, if they trade for William Karlsson, I'm not going to be like, jump up, oh my god, yeah, look who they. I'm going to say that's actually not bad. And he's going to play his game. And like Vito is saying, he's going to have a better surrounding cast and more ice time. And he's a guy who can be a 60-point guy. Like, he's not coming in here with expectations of like 80 plus points. I think if he comes in here and gets you 65 points for the next 2 seasons and 30 goals each season, that is a very nice pickup.
20 goals, it's still a good. It's
still a nice pickup. But sure. that's like, to the point is, I think. And I, with all due respect to him, and like Dave is also saying, I don't know if he's the guy I go out the gate to target, but I know that if after I take my 1 or 2 shots and swing in for the fences to try to get like that guy, that guy to run with Suzuki and be the 1-2 for the future, whoever that might be, if that doesn't materialize, I think William Karlsson is a lot better than a consolation prize. I think you could do far worse, and I think he was a massive upgrade at 2C than anybody we have.
But also make no mistake, if you've watched William Karlsson, just like he could get you excited with a play or even the small details of the game, he can go on these massive lulls where he's going to piss you off.
Which is fair.
The guy could look really good, just like he could. He could look really good, just like he could have played, and like in the next shift or the next game, he could look like Kotkaniemi.
Well, shot at Xhekaj out of nowhere, but okay. All right.
Fire.
Listen, very interesting guy. Another interesting guy. Recent rumor, also fascinating, although there has been ties to this player in the Canadiens for quite some time, and even more so of late, and we'll get to that in half a second. But Alex Tuch, apparently there are rumors out of Buffalo.
That's my boy.
Yeah, that he might not be interested in re-signing, and he's got 1 year left on his deal. Obviously, for those that are in the know, with a little bit more in the depth of the Canadiens organization, the Habs have his brother already here. Mm-hmm. Not that that's a factor necessarily, but it could be a deciding factor for a player like him to be interested in coming to the Canadiens, for example. But this is a big boy also. Another 6'4" dude, 220, 215 here. Puts up points. Consistently puts up points, which is another lovely thing to see. You love to see consistency. The cap hit is outrageous for this player.
Oh, he's going to be an expensive one, though.
So he's he's going to be a lot more money to come up. But the bigger question is this: because of the nature of this player, let's say they go out and acquire him, and they bring him in at the beginning of the season, and he plays this season with the Canadiens. My question to you would be, are you comfortable with making Alex Tuch the 2C moving forward, and you sign him to the big contract?
He could play center.
Yeah. He could, but he's predominantly a winger.
Yeah, he's not a
because people are floating him as center, and I'm like,
no.
You're bringing him in to be a winger, but then again, it seems like they have that not maybe necessarily cemented, but your top 4 wing is kind of like there already. So like, that's my question. I start with you, Dave. What do you think about this?
I mean, Alex Tuch would be a fantastic get for the Montreal Canadiens. It's going to be expensive to get him, and just look, I mean, even the trade route, if you want to go get him, and that's going to be expensive as well. I don't know if he's necessarily. I mean, like, obviously, if he's available, you check him out and you look him out and you see what it will cost to get him. But I don't know if that's the focus. I mean, I would not take him. Well, I mean, I don't think the Canadiens will take him as a 2C. I think he's a winger. He scores his goals on the wing. He plays on the wing.
He's a winger. I I says center. He's done it, but yeah.
We're kind of overdone that in this market. I don't want to go down that route, but look, he has very, very good numbers.
Those are nice numbers, yeah.
And the way he plays is just fantastic hockey.
Yeah,
he's nasty. He's exactly the type of player that at the end of the season, when Jeff Gorton was talking about bringing in size and nastiness and not necessarily in the center, but making the wing even bigger, he's that player that they're looking for. But
yeah,
not a center.
Yeah, not a center, and also. Like, I think he's going to get paid, and he's going to want to get paid. He's been on, as you said, an absurd contract. He's almost 30 years old. Like, I think there's going to be a bidding war for him, and I don't know if it's in the best interest for the Canadiens to even go that route. So I just don't see the fit, in all honesty. But obviously, if he's available, and again, Buffalo absolutely mad for just do anything you can to, like, you can't just let these guys walk out the door all the time.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm sure
14-year rebuild is still going.
This is another maddening thing that's obviously a topic for another discussion, but it's so crazy. Like, how is this guy available? Are you crazy? Anyways, but that to say, I don't see the fit, unfortunately. I think he'd be an amazing Montreal Canadian. I'd be all for it. I just don't see it happening.
You don't see it happening because we can't do it, or just because he doesn't fit?
No, I think it's going to be very expensive to acquire him. I don't think people are ready to pay the price. I mean, look what it cost to get Dylan Cousins, right? They dealt a pretty big piece for him, and I would argue that Alex Tuch is a better piece than Dylan Cousins. So, I think that it's going to be expensive to get him, and then you have to sign him on top of that. And I think it's in his best interest, if I'm his agent. I'm not doing a sign and trade. I'm walking out until you're a free agent, and then you're going to the big boys.
Unless the team, if a team comes in and gives him the $9 million right away, because that's where I think he's going to cost.
Sure, I don't think the Canadiens will do that, and that's why I don't see it.
You don't think the Canadiens would do $9 million for Alex Tuch?
I don't know.
I think that the Montreal Canadiens have to consider that as of. They were going to want to extend Lane Hudson, and in a year and a half from now, they're going to want to extend Demidov. And if Demidov does break through the way that Hudson did as a defenseman, but up front, that's going to be some money that they're going to need. And if they commit it to Alex Tuch or another $9-10 million player, you might have a bit of a problem there.
It's the age.
And Alex Tuch is going to get paid now. That contract. He's going to get that contract. Yeah, it's going to be that 7-8 year. Bring me to my retirement contract. He's not going to do a 3, 4, or 5 year deal. It's going to be an 8-year deal.
Plus, again, like I said from the other with about Nick Hague playing on his wrong side, I dislike an idea that, and I don't know if this is why they would acquire him, because obviously. That plays a factor. But if you're looking to bring him in and say, oh, he can play center, let's shove him at center. That's not his strength. And I think it's important that you don't do that again. And, like a Jonathan Drouin type thing comes to mind here where I think maybe he's a little bit more positioned to play center, but his strength is as a winger. And so you'd want to bring him in to flourish that way. So, like, if they're going to do it, then obviously you're going to have to find room in your top six, maybe on the top line there, and everything starts to move around. It becomes a little bit more complex. And then for me, the one knock, and I really like Alex Tuch as a player. I happen to really enjoy this player. I think he's a really solid NHLer, and I think he's worth the money he's going to get paid. He's a couple years too old for where the team is at. If he were 27, I would make that move and I'd sign him long-term because I think he's right around the same ballpark. You go with it. At 30, because realistically, I don't think you get him prior to this season starting. Like, he'll play out the majority of the season in Buffalo.
No,
and then
if he if he wants out, Buffalo's not going to risk that they get to they likely won't risk that they get to the trade deadline and he risks getting hurt or whatever the case may be, because he's missed games too.
It's
because of the style of
possible.
game that he plays.
It's
So if they're going to want to move on with all these other players that are rumored to want out of Buffalo, they're going to want to make those shifts and moves sooner rather than later. And that GM in Buffalo, he makes questionable moves on a regular.
Well, and besides who they recently just brought in there as special advisor, or whatever they did. I mean, we poor Buffalo. I mean, that's all. I mean, my heart goes out, right? So, anyways, we'll see what happens there. But so final thought, Vito. I mean, you kind of answered. You were talking there, but for you, no, yes.
I want Alex Tuch on the Montreal Canadiens. He's the type of player that they need now. They want to take that next step, and they want to be physical and mean, and add that mix, that blend of skill and size on the team, and have a guy who's going to play a power forward game. Yeah, you bring him on. But yes, are there some concerns with regards to his age? Yeah, maybe for the next 45 years, I wouldn't be overly concerned. But eventually, on a 7-8 year deal, it's gonna, with the way he plays, we might be talking about an LTIR candidate down the road potentially. But yeah, Alex Tuch, it changes things. Having a guy like
we wouldn't be in a rebuild anymore.
No, the rebuild's over if you have
Yeah,
if you have
we'd be
like,
a
if
contender,
you're going to acquire a player like that.
Who are you trading to get him? Who's Buffalo taking? You know what I mean?
I will
No.
tell you this: I would build a package of some kind where money has to be interchanged, right? If he plays right wing, if you're gonna shift Demidov to the left on the second line, all of a sudden Patrick Lainey's out of favor.
You want
Buffalo
Patrick Laine
Sabres?
gone so bad.
That's such a
It's
ridiculous
crazy.
thing. Like, you think the Buffalo Sabres are going to take Patrick Laine for Alex Tuch? Come on,
Not a
man.
chance.
Who the heck said anything 1-for-1?
No, but even in a package deal,
In a package, you think
it's not gonna
that
happen.
gets it done? Like,
Yeah.
come on.
Whether he's the piece that is a piece in a package that goes or not, because they're going to want players to play. They're going to need, if they're going to move Alex Tuch, they're going to need NHL body players. And you're looking at a guy who's younger than him, who's going to probably offset the production a little bit, is a similar size, doesn't play the same style of game. And then you start throwing in the picks and the this and the that to make it all work.
I mean, I don't think that gets it done.
Because
I
if you
also
bring in
don't
Alex
see it.
Tuch, you're not bringing in Alex Tuch to play on the third line. And if you have Patrick Laine, your hope.
Why would Buffalo ever do that? Why?
Well,
Because
For a guy that that
out.
Patrick Laine, you think Laine is going to want to sign in Buffalo after? Like, come on.
Yeah, but if Alex Tuch is not signing in Buffalo,
Well, that's why you get no return.
The idea of
No
Laine
return
going the
walked
other,
in and it's stuck there.
Hold on a second. The idea of Laine going the other way is not because Laine is the centerpiece and all that. It'd be because he's an NHL body player that they could.
Okay, so then my question remains: who's the centerpiece? Who are you willing to give up?
It's going to be more like picks and other players.
Logan Mailloux.
That's again, like everyone just wants to throw Logan Mailloux as if he's like this big guy that everyone's
go look
coveting.
At Buffalo's,
Like,
go look at
come on.
Buffalo's defensive core and tell me that they need Logan Mailloux.
No, I don't.
Well, they need actually they are looking for right-hand defensemen because they only have after Dahlin, it's slim pickings.
They got a 35-goal scorer in Josh Norris for Dylan Cousins. Man. Like, they're not taking.
Apparently, rumors are that Owen Power wants out. So that's
Everybody wants out. I mean, this is news. This is not news with Buffalo. I get your point. I understand what you're saying, and I think the most interesting thing, which I would be curious to know for those that are in the know, those that are plugged in with hockey, that have made it through the episode and are here, what would it take to really move that needle in Buffalo? Because I imagine they're going to have many suitors for Alex Tuch, and so if you're going to want to acquire him, you're going to have to pay for him. And so, what do you think the Canadiens have to offer that Buffalo, in their present climate? And I mean, a year ago they were a bubble team. They were about to get in, or 2 years ago, whatever it was.
That's what they would want. They would want Caulfield.
Yeah, maybe. Now I wouldn't do it, but maybe that's
not.
But maybe, I mean, you got to be real about it. You got to be real about it. I think you saying Patrick Laine, even part as a package, is an unrealistic thing to say. They don't want him. It doesn't make sense, and you don't flip out Patrick Laine and bring in Alex Tuch. Like, that's just not what this is going to be.
Again, you're making it
Fantasy
seem like
land.
he's the centerpiece of the whole thing.
I mean,
there'd be firsts in there. There would be Logan Mailloux for sure. There would be other things there.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. You know what? Let us know
Heck,
in the
they're even
comments
calling
if you guys have a
Matheson.
trade
If Owen
package.
Power's moving
That's
out,
what I
and
wanna know.
they want players that are going to come in the NHL and be productive on the NHL roster and be productive. You might even see Matheson. Who knows? That's the one thing that a lot of articles, the rumor people, all of them, the analysts, Montreal's got the pieces to make something happen. It's just a question of which team and who's the right partner, and what's the right piece. That's the real question. But they got pieces and assets to make everything happen. Really.
No, yeah, Hughes is constantly, surprising everybody. Like when we got Patrick Laine, everybody's like, "Oh, we got Patrick Laine and we traded a second." No, we got the second back. Like the Canadiens got the second round pick with Patrick Laine for Jordan Harris, which was ridiculous.
I'm very curious to see what's going to unfold. There are a lot of
Kirby
options.
Dach, Patrick Laine up first, and Logan Mailloux. You're telling me they're not going to consider that?
For
Nope.
yeah,
I
know.
I honestly
Two
don't
firsts.
think they consider that personally, but stranger things.
Would you, if you're if Vito, be honest, if you're the GM of the Buffalo Sabres, would you consider that? No.
First off, if the GM of the Buffalo Sabres, there,
Okay, but I'm asking you.
There,
Asking you.
Moriello,
I'm asking you though.
Would I do it? If my player wants out and he's not going to sign with me, I have to come up with a package. I'm coming from a position.
Okay, but there's other teams other than the Montreal Canadiens who probably can offer
And if
something.
you want to take him, you got to blow him out of the water. And you think
But
what you
it's
just
coming-
said is the
it's-
top package that they're going to receive?
Buffalo's coming from a position of weakness if the player wants out.
But
No,
other teams, you
it's
don't think
not,
other
though.
teams
He's
could pony
an
up more than the
asset.
package you just said?
What?
Mikko Rantanen wanted out, and look what they were able to get a decent package for Mikko Rantanen, and then everybody knew.
From which sense? Carolina to Dallas?
No, Colorado to
Supposedly,
Carolina.
Rantanen did not want out. They just saw that there was
I
going
don't
to
want
be
to get into the Rantanen thing.
Anyways.
I'm just saying it is very interesting, and I'm very curious to see what's going to happen in the upcoming couple of weeks as we get into the draft and then move into free agency. I think a lot of interesting players and names are going to be out there. I think you're going to hear about a crazy amount of rumors, most of them probably clickbait, but some legit. And I'd be very curious to know where the Habs are going to land. That will conclude this episode, gentlemen. Thank you very much for taking the time out of your busy lives and getting this episode in the books. Please let us know in the comments below your thoughts about any of the three players we talked about tonight. Nicolas Hague, William Karlsson, and Alex Tuch. Would you be interested? What do you think would get it done? Always curious to know what you guys think. We're super excited every time we release one of these episodes and read the comments. A lot of smart people in there. Some not so smart. But hey,
whoa.
c'est la vie. I'm not saying
Easy
who's
there.
who. I'm not saying
Wow.
who's who. We love all our listeners. Thank you very much. For Dave, Luca, Vito, I'm Matt, and this was
Get Pucked.